back to the question where you have the questions and I have the answers, and we're taking a break from the amendment series to talk about the supersexualities. This is something that I heard a lot about this week because it's like on the rise on TikTok and on Instagram. We need to talk about it because it is very, very, very problematic. So let's get started. I say as if I'm going to do a really fancy transition. I don't have the skills for that. So what are the supersexualities? Supersexuality is basically people in different sexualities who will only date cis people and not trans people. And just for the studies, that is like, just off the bat, it's problematic. But, so it's more famous for the super straight, which are like straight people who are being like, we should be part of the LGBTQ plus community because our sexuality is more niche than just being straight. It's only dating cis people and that kind of jazz. But there's also seen variants of like super bisexual, super pansexual, which we've already had a lot of issues, about whether bisexual or pansexuality as in of themselves are transphobic, and now we're having like actual variants that are transphobic, including trans people. I'm not saying that like you have to date trans people. You don't. It's a preference. If you don't want to date a trans person, you don't have to. But don't go making a sexuality about it, saying that your sexuality is somehow more pure or better to the other sexuality because you don't date trans people. And that's exactly what these people are doing. And that's why people have an issue with this. The LGBTQ plus community does not care whether you date trans people or not. If you have an issue with that, that's between you and yourself. You and God. I don't care. And most people don't care. But like going out and making this whole thing and presenting yourself as better because you don't isn't right. And for those people who think that, oh, well, we should still let them in, they're not hurting anybody. The fact that those slogans are actually like transphobic, conservative slogans. Like if you go onto the supersexual like official pages, they'll be like there are only two genders or only what nature intended. Shit that's already been used to harm the transgender community and the LGBTQ plus community. And then to go and use that and be like, we're not transphobic when you're actively using known transphobic, statements. And just another thing is that some variants of the super straight flag look just like the SS flag, like from the Nazis. And even people who identify as super straight on their profile will put the SS. And I'm like, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. One consolation that's hilarious that the color they chose for their flag is the Pornhub and Grindr colors, which is hilarious. That's the only consolation. But no, the supersexualities are super problematic, and they're not trying to be valid, not trying to present themselves as like, hey, we're new, accept us. They're using it to mock the LGBTQ plus community, to try and demonize us through societal convention, basically being like, look, we're doing this thing, we have this super valid preference, why are they not accepting us, even though we're not accepting you, not because of your dating preference, we're not accepting you because you're using it to attack us and it's openly transphobic about what you're doing. You're just trying to use us to make us look bad. And yeah, because most of the people, they don't care. If you are bisexual and you don't want to date a trans person, that's fine. If you're straight, you don't want to date a trans person, that is okay. No one cares. It's like having a preference. You can have preferences in dating. It doesn't matter. But using this to target an already marginalized community and make it seem as if you are the victim and they're the aggressors, that is not cool. That is just, it's like having straight pride. Why? Why are you doing this to yourself? You have no reason. It's dumb. It is harmful. It is aggravating. Yeah, so that is what is up with the supersexualities. And if you come across someone who is supersexual, if you see any content, I would say if you feel comfortable, maybe like DM and say why it's harmful, because we don't know if they're like actively like an aggressor, if they just got swept into this because, you know, and I'm not saying the entire community is bad. No entire community is bad. You know, some people could just say and be like, hey, you know, I am bisexual and I prefer not to date trans people, and they could identify with us not knowing that it's harmful. So I'd say just DM, and if you feel comfortable, you know, explain why that community is harmful, and if they're actually like a joke who is doing this explicitly to be transphobic or explicitly to be like, oh my god, you know, these terrible, crazy LGBTQ plus people are attacking me and demonizing me for my sexuality, then just fucking report them, block them. It doesn't matter, you know? I'm just trying to get attention if it was actually like a bold movement. This is probably just an online thing. Someone asked me if like people would do this in person. If they were doing it in person, they would have done it so long ago. So yeah, just block, report, you know, for say either like bullying, harassment, misinformation, harm to a community. It it doesn't matter. It's all online, so stuff can get taken down. It's just it's dumb, and the fact that some people are taking this seriously and considering letting them into the community. It's like when pedophiles tried to get into the community and they started like, okay, well maybe not pedophilia or pedosexual. Let's try all these different names to get in. When it's like they aren't serious about getting in. They just want to make us look bad and mock the community that already exists. So at least that's my take. That seems to be the general consensus of it. I know some people who are okay with it, just because it is a preference and people are in it and they don't harm people. But for those who are actively using it to be transphobic and to like gatekeep and oppress others, just don't. Just block, report, be done with it. It doesn't matter. It's dumb. And it's probably not gonna last for another like month or two.